Hello and welcome back to the Cyber Club London YouTube channel. My name is John Solomon, and this is the latest in our series of conversations with Cyber Club members. For those of you who are not aware of us, we're a loose confederation, if you want to call it that, of investors in primarily early stage, but not only cybersecurity startups. These are all companies that we evaluate as a group, and we invest collectively in those that we find particularly interesting or very promising. I'm here today with Jason Ozin. He's a CISO of PIB Group in London, and one of our also very active members. And so I'd like to hand over to Jason. You want to quickly introduce yourself and talk about yourself briefly?
Yeah, thanks, John. So, I'm Jason Ozin. I'm the CISO of PIB Group. PIB Group have been going 7-ish years. Started from nothing. We're on our 68th acquisition with about another 35 in the pipeline. So, as I always say, if you don't like change, don't work for PIB Group. It's a hell of a place to be working for, particularly as a CISO. And obviously, I get approached. We're primarily insurance. I get approached all the time by all sorts of vendors, startups, things like that, and I see everything they do wrong in my mind. I'm not the be all and end all of this, but everything that in my mind they do wrong. And every now and then I actually quite like some of them. And I'm very happy to say to them, guys, this is what you should be doing. If you want to get hold of people like me, this is what you should be doing, in my opinion. Because more often than not, you're just not going to get in. You're not going to get past, the phone lines, the secretaries, the whoever it is that are keeping you away from me because they're told to keep you away from me. Or you're going to get very short-changed from me. So I'm very happy to be involved with Cyber Club London because I think there's some great products out there. And in fact, I'm using some of the products that we've seen through Cyber Club London. We may not have, actually, the ones I'm using, we may not even invested in because other people had other ideas, and that's fine. But I've seen some great products and I'm using them. But it's not easy to get into companies like ours as a startup. As I always say, no one get fired for buying IBM. So why should I buy your little startup? So, there are tips and tricks that hopefully I can give to some people.
That's great. So you guys are basically the acquisition vacuum cleaner. My wife is a CEO of a company that went through a massive acquisition spree recently, and I don't envy you the integration work that you've got as an ongoing concern. So you've been with CCL since I think pretty much the beginning, and I really echo your thoughts about not having access. The last time I was in a senior management role in information security, I really tried to keep, for example, the salespeople away from me for obvious reasons. You don't want to hear sales pitch again. The marketing guys can be fun to go hang out and drinking with, but if you want a constructive engagement, especially as a startup, a forum like ours is a really good way to go. How do you engage with as an organization, as a CISO, with early stage innovators, companies that are maybe just starting out in the space and are looking to get input and feedback from you as somebody with a lot of experience and exposure?
It depends whether they're trying to sell me something or they actually want my advice. If they're trying to sell me something, I say, have you got a product to show me? And what does that product do? What's its unique selling point that I haven't got already? Don't tell me all my issues, because a lot of salesmen do that. They think you've got this issue and this issue, and have you got this issue? I know what my issues are. You know what my issues are, because they're the same for everybody, probably. Tell me what you're bringing to the table. Don't give me the sales pitch, whatever. That's on the sales side. If they've got an idea and they actually generally want help with it and they're not trying to sell it to me, and obviously I appreciate that maybe one day they will want to sell it for me, but they actually want advice, then I'm probably a little bit more open to them. But again, I would say, what is the product? Have you actually got a product to show somebody? And if you haven't, I'll talk to you about it. I'll tell you whether it's a good idea or not a good idea, but you're not going to get your foot in the door until you've got a product to show somebody.
I like the approach to giving advice. One of my ongoing frustrations was always the unwillingness of especially large organizations to adopt early stage innovators, which I never really understood, because you get a chance to help basically shape their product, and you're getting in at probably a much lighter price point. to your statement about nobody ever got fired for IBM, you're not buying it cheap, right? So what are some common, aside from the not trying to sell unless you've got a product, what are maybe some common pitfalls that an entrepreneur with a good, let's say a prototype, should watch out for when talking to you initially and trying to get your advice?
I think there's certain practices you see and you think, oh, I've heard all that before. They tell you how they're 100 times better than their competitors. They're not 100 times better than competitors. They might have one or two unique selling points. They may be easier to work with. They may integrate better with your things like that. So don't big yourself up more than you actually believe. Sometimes they believe their own hype, and that's actually, they need to be grounded a bit more. Also, I think a lot of these startups have got to realize that they may have a good idea, but that doesn't mean they're going to actually be successful. And somebody else may have the idea, might be further down the line. Amazon wasn't the first online bookseller. It doesn't matter if you had the first idea. It's how you actually sell it into the market, how you actually get your ideas there. Are you actually solving a real problem? And these are the things. And a lot of these startup owners are very single purpose. They've got this great idea. They think it's the best in the world. If I say to them, that's not a great idea, but you're onto something, maybe you should swap it this way. So not interested. And if they're not interested, fine, see if somebody else is interested. But, flexibility has got to be there. I think that's really important. Don't think that you've found the golden egg, because you probably haven't, and you're not probably the first person to have thought about it. It's execution is everything, I think.
And I think that that's touching on a point that I find very important. That's a certain amount of not just adaptability, but also, realism and humility. We pride ourselves on having, 60, 70, 80 people now, who all of whom have, I don't know about you, I've got 25 years in this industry. At some point you kind of know what you're talking about. So it's also, I personally, I don't know about you, I personally find it very refreshing when I run into somebody who's maybe, 10, 15, 20 years younger than me, even though they're very good in the industry and what they do already. But if they express a willingness to say, all right, even if I disagree with you, let me listen to what you've got to say, and let me see if I can have a constructive dialogue with you and how I can improve what I'm doing.
100%. And not only that, you're more willing to introduce those people to other people, because they're not going to they are actually going to have a constructive conversation. And you know what? It's also luck. A lot of it is luck. These guys do well because they happen to be in the right place at the right time, and they've networked in the right people, and they've come across the right sort of people. And I think CCL is a good, if you happen to be put in front of CCL and they like you, that's a big step up. I'm not bigging CCL up, but yeah, how many times can you be put in front of 90 CISOs?
Is it that many now? I haven't kept keeping track of how many we have.
I don't know how many we've got. I've forgotten.
A bunch, a fair number. Looking at our member list. So maybe taking off the CISO hat for a second, and as we're segueing more into the, let's say, casual but informed tech investor side of things, what are some of the qualities and methodologies and bits of content that you're looking for when a startup is presenting to you and asking for your money?
So I think that there's twofold. There's two different bits to it. One is this a good enough product for someone to buy it really quite soon, because they're going to see it as a competitor, or they need to add it to their set? So you see a startup and you think they haven't got a future because they're going to get bought by Microsoft or Google or something like that. Good investment. It's quite,
a sale is an exit.
Correct. So you've got those ones, and then you've got the other ones where you think this is actually a really good product, and they can go the way with this product, and they should be able to. Maybe they will exit at some point, but you don't look at it as an exit. You look at it as this is a good product, and I'm not just in it for the money. I'm actually in it because I really like this product. And as I say, I've adopted 2 of the products out of CCL, and been really, really pleased with them.
That's excellent. Great. Thanks very much. And thank you very much for this kind of brief introduction to the mind of Jason Ozin, somebody whose comments I put a lot of stock in and I follow fairly assiduously. For those of you who are not familiar with us, please give us a visit at cyberclub.london. I'll put links to all the information, things that we touch on in this video, plus a short guide that we put together for startup entrepreneurs presenting to investors on our website. Jason, I want to thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in our next pitch meeting.
Lovely. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, John.